The CBS 13 News at 10 continues.
Well, they thought it was COVID, but a local family now believes they actually got sick from mold growing in their rental home, and they're not alone. So what are your rights if your life is turned upside down by mold?
CBS 13's Julie Watts is getting answers.
Yeah, guys, mold is a complicated one. Part of the problem is there are no state or federal exposure limits, so it's difficult to prove when mold is actually a health threat. But one thing is clear. California law requires landlords provide a safe and healthy home.
It's all about survival when you're in the wild, right?
Camping out with the family may seem like fun, but for the Crenshaws, they say it was anything but.
This is day 2.
Their saga began over the holidays when Carl and his wife thought they had COVID. Then they discovered the mold.
We thought we had COVID.
You now think it was mold symptoms?
No, we know it is now.
They say their symptoms got so bad they moved their family of 7 into a tent in the yard as they waited for their landlord to remediate the mold. When the contractor finally came, Carl took this video of the contractors who he says simply scraped and painted over the mold without removing their belongings to prevent contamination or removing the contaminated drywall to treat inside the source of the mold.
So you're not removing no wall, it's clean?
Yeah, it's clean.
Real estate attorney Joe Tobner does not represent the Crenshaws, but says when a tenant notifies a landlord of mold in writing, they must properly remediate the mold.
It's really typical for us to find negligence in mold cases because to do it the right way is expensive.
While California law doesn't require a specific protocol, Tobner says they should move the tenants and their belongings out, have contaminated items cleaned off-site, treat the source of the water intrusion, remove contaminated drywall, treat the interior of the walls, then retest for mold.
Anything outside of that protocol is going to give rise to liability.
Tobner says in some cases a lawyer may be your only option. They can sue your landlord to cover monetary damages and emotional distress and even the cost of a rent increase if you have to move. But he says health claims can be tricky.
You need the allergy test showing that you're allergic to the very mold that was found in the unit.
The Crenshaws paid for multiple mold tests.
So we were breathing this stuff in.
Crenshaw's landlords, Arbors at Antelope, would not tell us whether they had the unit independently tested, but said in a statement, "We take matters like this very seriously and scheduled initial remediation as quickly as possible. Those repairs were performed and completed by a licensed contractor." Now, California Health and Safety Code requires property owners provide a rental unit that is safe and healthy. If a property owner does not respond to mold concerns, a local code enforcement agency can require the property owner to correct the problem.
But look, it's growing back.
Carl called code enforcement back in January, but the landlord still hadn't completed the work when we visited in March.
This is what they call repairs. They were going to just cover it up and try to move us back in.
Code enforcement tells us they finally signed off in April after additional work was done, but says they're only required to address visible mold, so they don't test the air or address hidden mold that may be growing inside the walls. We spoke with some of Crenshaw's neighbors who tell similar stories of mold. An attorney representing 86 tenants with mold complaints in this complex tells us several have young children.
The research is really clear that kids that live in uninhabitable conditions are going to have long-term health impacts.
So why not just move? Well, several renters tell us they either can't afford high rents right now or don't have money for deposits, applications, or movers. Others say their applications are being denied as more landlords require high credit scores and incomes.
My baby's toys.
Meanwhile, the Crenshaws say they had to send most of their belongings to the dump.
Brand new mattresses.
They're now staying in temporary housing while they struggle to find a new permanent, mold-free home that they can afford.